Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Outsider Season 1, Episode 8. It's called Foxhead. Full spoilers for the episode, as always. And this episode basically is forming the plan of what to do now that at least a lot of them believe roughly what's going on, even if Ralph doesn't. Ralph's obviously still very skeptical.
Been a bit of a holdout, yeah.
Yeah, but he kind of agrees to go along with this plan. It's kind of a moment of tempered acceptance, I guess.
It's more just, well, we've got no other plan, so might as well.
Yeah, because he's still kind of challenged by his wife and then by Holly later in the episode for not truly believing in what he's doing, but he's kind of just admitting that he's got no other options at this point, so he's doing the crazy one.
It's more resignation than acceptance.
Yeah, so that's kind of something that's happening, but the episode, half of it is them traveling to the other town, and this other town is where Claudius went. Claudius went to visit his brother after leaving the club last couple of episodes, and this is kind of him out of town on vacation, like some of the other previous victims have been.
Well,
that have been
it always happens while they're out of state, doesn't it?
Yeah, so they're going there because their plan is to go there, and Holly was at least on her own. She says she'll do it on her own, but others volunteer. Is she'll go and at least give one person's witness testimony of I saw him here this entire time he was doing this thing, whenever this other thing was happening, and from there, Eunice volunteers. Ralph's kind of the last reluctant one, and her kind of boyfriend dude also volunteers. His name I have forgotten. Andy. That's the dude.
I was going to go with Dave, but I mean both equally generic names.
So my only critique of this part of the story, in terms of the plan, is that I couldn't help but feel that, okay, so you're going to expose this thing by proving that this person's really somewhere else, and therefore he couldn't have done the murders. Okay, and okay, that maybe exposes it to the world, but my hang up here is that it's kind of not necessarily trying to stop the monster itself from killing another kid. They're almost waiting for another kid to be killed.
Yeah.
for the plan to work.
I have another inherent problem as well, in that they're banking on their collective eyewitness statements being enough to counter video or photo evidence. Which, I mean, it seems to me, okay, let's say this goes to trial. A jury is much more likely to believe a picture of someone in a place than, a bunch of people going, no, it was with me, it's fine.
Which, I'll be honest, because one of the things that Eunice does is hey, it's going to take us, at least 6-8 hours, whatever it's going to be to get there. Why don't I phone ahead and get the local police to grab him and put him in a jail cell? Because hey, there's no better alibi than being locked up in a jail cell in a police precinct.
Just leave him there for a day or two.
Just leave him there. Literally, no one can argue this. Because I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be cameras on those jail cells, because, or at least in the building.
I hope so.
Yeah, but seriously, it is the safest place for him to no one to prove or say otherwise. How can any lawyer try to prosecute him argue with this? He was in the jail cell the entire time. He's there.
Right.
So
it just seems fundamentally flawed, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it. So I mean, that's it. Other than that, I generally liked what it was doing, and the idea. Okay, we're trying to be proactive and sort of prove that this is happening. Okay, that's fine. And I also at least like the idea of Howard and Alec feeling that they kind of given up on her, because Alec doesn't want to go at first because he's kind of scared, and they kind of ultimately decide to go and back them up because they felt like they abandoned her. They did get her involved in this, and now they're kind of leaving her out to dry. That said, though, I do think it didn't need the middle scene of him actually saying why he didn't go. Honestly, just the scene of him coming in and saying, "Hey, I feel like we've abandoned her, we should go," is all we needed. The scene in the middle where we get this sort of long story of how it reminded him of this taste of he felt in his mouth when he was in Iraq or whatever. I was like, this is just fluff. We don't need this.
This is there because they've insisted on a roughly hour runtime.
Yes.
And we needed 2 extra minutes somewhere.
Yeah, and I felt that a few times in this episode. Some of the other ones were at least a bit more entertaining. There's a scene with Andy and Eunice where Eunice kind of plays a little joke on him, and at least this was mildly entertaining on its own, so it didn't bother me as much, but it was also equally could be cut and you wouldn't lose anything.
Yeah, you do feel where, sure, it's fine, it's not as annoying or redundant as the other one, but more just, it doesn't really serve any additional purpose beyond just pumping up the runtime a little bit.
Yeah, because it's just this little practical joke where he tries to convince Andy that Holly, when she walks into a room, she knows if someone's like, if their time is near. And he kind of describes how she is with everyone. So Andy's like, well, she's been like that with me. Oh no. And he's like, and he just starts laughing. And he's like, so he played a little joke on him.
Yeah.
They bond, cool, okay, they like each other more. The one with Holly and Ralph, more necessary. And it's frustrating, not because of the scene itself. The scene itself, where he tells a story about how the song that he played for his dying mother played in the car when he was like, on the night that his son was born, and he was just thinking of his mother before the song played, like, and he asked Holly, what do you think of that? Thinking that she's going to say, well, given that I am connected to spiritual things and I believe in this stuff and all this stuff, like, she'll have some sort of wacky opinion for him. And she just kind of shrugs it because it sounds like a coincidence. And they start laughing about it, and it felt like a genuine moment. But what frustrated me is that it felt like, okay, that was a step forward in their relationship, where even if he's not ready to believe everything completely yet, they at least are more accepting of each other, as the feeling I got from that scene. And then 5 minutes later, there's a scene with Holly and Ralph where Holly's like, if you don't believe in this, Ralph, you should just go home. You're just in the way. Like, what?
Yeah, it's frustrating because while we know he's wrong to not believe in it, he's not like... as of this episode, he's kind of going along with it. He's not getting in the way. He's not fighting it. He's going along with the plan. And it just feels a bit redundant to keep going on at him now.
Yeah, even the scene with Janie where she's like, well, if you don't really believe in this thing, you might just get in the way. And I'm like, well, how? Like, what? He's still there. He's another witness. He's someone there who's trained with his gun. Like, he's just as useful as anyone else is there.
Yeah, and he's still got credibility within the wider community for, when this becomes necessary.
Yeah, because the one thing we find out is, because Glory's not in the episode, but we find out that Glory's not suing him specifically. She's the only one she's left out on the lawsuit list, because she still believes that he might actually somehow prove that her husband's innocent. Probably based on that conversation they had, where she kind of even pondered, did he do it? I feel like that conversation justifies that choice to me for why she's not doing this. But I did feel some padding in this episode, and I think, well, I liked the scene with them in the car. The fact that we had another scene with the others in their car, like, the entire journey to the town felt like it took half the episode, and I felt like this didn't need to be this slow. This felt like it could have been halved at the very least.
Travelled, and it's fine. Yeah. It is frustrating. I think there's like a good 35 to 40 minutes in here, and we've that's even with our caveats on the actual plot holes that we were kind of talking about before, which I'm willing to kind of let slide ultimately. But, if I'm enjoying something, plot holes like that, I can be like, fine.
And to be fair,
right?
the main sort of plot hole we're talking about, why not try and like stop him killing someone? That feels more important right now than the other stuff you're doing. But at least if they'd had a conversation where they said that out loud and said, yeah, but how do we find him or stop him? Okay, we can't, so let's do this as the next best thing. Like, that'd cover that up. But they didn't have that conversation. They immediately went to, we need to prove his innocence before it happens.
Much. And it's just a little frustrating with... Like, this show, as of right now, I think could have been a great five, maybe 6 episodes.
Mm-hmm.
I think it has definitely been stretched out longer. I don't know at whose request we spoke that before, but I felt like entire episodes you could mostly cut down to 10 minutes. This is one where I feel like it's mostly there, but it has just been padded out a bit. Yeah,
this episode still feels padded out though, unfortunately, and it's a shame that episode 8, there's 2 after this. We're getting to this point in the season. It feels like this should not feel padded out anymore, and
we should be tense heading into the end game. Everything's coming together now.
But it still feels like it's killing time at various points, and everything with Claude and his brother is okay. There's the little joke where he likes jigsaw puzzles, the brother, and he doesn't look at the box. He praised himself. He thinks it's more of a challenge if he doesn't look at the box. It's like hard mode for jigsaw puzzles.
That is real hard mode.
Yeah,
I'm with him on that.
And Holly walks in and makes a sort of like noise at it, and he's like, "What, you don't like jigsaws?" He's like, "No, I don't like elephants." And he's like, "Wait, what?" And he picks up the box. He's like, "Shit."
Yeah, that was quite funny.
That was an alright little joke. Yeah, that was fine. Do you know what I did like in this episode? I like the fact that even though we know he's turned into Claude, the doppelganger, and even though like there shouldn't necessarily be a reason to conceal that, I still kind of like that they chose to conceal it in a weird way. Like, it added some like mystery to it, even though we know in theory he's just turning into look like Paddy Constantine. That's why we have him here. But there was something about like just seeing the tattoos in the hand and always sort of obscuring the face or having him wear the mask. That just
the mask, yeah.
And you hear his voice, but it's kind of this creepy thing where I guess it kind of puts you in Ralph's mindset, because it's not really until Ralph sees the footage of like when he's caught at the the fairground or whatever it is they're at, this campsite with the carnival, yeah. And he sees the footage of like, okay, this is a guy who looks exactly okay. He can buy that there's some sort of twin out there for Terry, right? Okay, that explains one.
Yeah.
But how does he explain that it's happened again with another person looking exactly like, the culprit or the potential culprit? So I think that's a big wake up call for Ralph when he sees that towards the end of the episode and they get this footage.
I like the bit in the mask in general as well, because you could have played it as like, oh, maybe this was Jack if you'd wanted to, right? And
you could have done. I mean, I recognize the voice, so I didn't think so.
No,
but...
sure, you recognize it, but you could have played it like that as, who's under the mask, and is in that whole concealing the identity till the end thing. You can kind of just play with that element of it.
Yeah, Jack, kills a random guy so that the thing can feed it. Obviously he prefers small children, but we've heard this before. But if he's desperate, he might eat other things, and he does eat this fully grown guy. But he immediately is like, I want something proper to eat. Like he's not satisfied.
He's riddled with cancer.
Yeah. So, and he also eats a deer. I think at the end of the episode, he's because he didn't get the kid, right? He wanted the kid, he didn't get him because the kid's bigger sister notices that he's walking off, but there's a stranger and intervenes, and it leads to sort of everyone kind of like getting in the way and making sure he doesn't run off with the kid. And the police do come to see Claude at his brother's place, and obviously Ralph and that come out, and that's when we get this video footage. And it's nice that it kind of plays because the brother's like ready to like pick a fight with these cops because he's like, nah, like what are you doing? But no, Ralph comes out, he's like, no, like I'm a cop too. He's been here though. I can personally vouch for his whereabouts, and there's another 4 people here who can. So, like, the mechanics of that are solid, right? But
yeah.
I felt like this entire episode could have been the first, 20 minutes of an episode as opposed to the full thing.
I agree. I suspect next episode was going to be kind of, in a way, a repeat of a lot of, the first 2. In that, okay, we're gonna see some of this investigation coming down, and but this side, we're going to be on the opposite side trying to disprove it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like most of that could have fit into this. You do this 20 minutes here, and then go straight into that, and it probably would have flowed better.
There's so much trimming here that I would do. There's so many little quiet moments that I just don't think we need. There's a moment where Ralph wakes up because Claude's brother's taking a photo of him when he's sleeping, and maybe it'll somehow feel more needed later, but I doubt it.
If Claude's in the picture, sure, but he's not, is he?
Well, no, we saw. Maybe he's standing in the background because we know he gets up to check the doors and stuff at night because he was talking about that.
I mean, that'll be something in regards to photographic evidence, I guess. Yeah. But I mean, I don't. We didn't see him there. I mean, not that I recall, anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, it's become a very frustrating show for me because I feel like as it goes on, the warts of it being stretched out as much as it's been, and obviously we have some just creative choices that have been made with the story that we've kind of talked about in the last couple episodes, but we're already past those. The show is what it is now, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But here we're kind of dealing with pacing and a lot of just a slow pace that does not feel earned or justified. It feels like they're really drawing things out and they want these small moments to really mean something. And it doesn't help that I watched this and then immediately watched Better Call Saul after it, which does do slow paced moments and does them to perfection.
I did it worse. I did it the other way around.
That is worse.
I was really excited to watch Better Call Saul.
There's a reason.
I'm getting straight in there for that.
There's a reason why I did Outsider first because I knew if I did Saul first, I'd feel worse than this.
I wanted to watch Saul on the big screen out in the main room with the proper sound, and not that really needs a better sound system, but I wanted the full experience. So I watched that a bit earlier while I was out there, and then The Outsider I came in and watched it in. I mean, it's still a fairly decent screen here. It's not small by any means. Yeah. It's still like a 40-something inch screen, but in comparison, it's like it's the lesser experience, and I just get it done with.
Yeah. So I mean, we'll see what the last 2 episodes bring us. There's not a whole lot in this episode that I really want to talk about. There's a couple of moments. Holly goes to the little church in the street and sort of sits with Eunice. So there's little character beats like that which are fine. They're frustrating to me right now though because I mean in some ways this episode does maybe better than previous episodes at making me like characters. Maybe the scene like that Eunice and Andy scene where okay, we didn't need this, but it did make me kind of at least okay, they're both a bit more likable a little bit.
It's the kind of thing where if that was in episodes 3 and 4, you'd probably be a lot more into it and forgiving of these moments than you are at the end of the story.
Yeah, it should be ramping up a lot quicker now, and I felt the pacing. I am feeling the time stretched out here.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, towards the end, and obviously we see the investigations happening with the kid that was almost taken and wasn't. So at least they don't have to feel like have a guilty conscience. They might be able to still be able to stop another kid from being killed. You'd hope that's what
maybe.
the goal's
Yeah.
going to be in the next couple. But the next episode might largely be about trying to prove that, hey, there's some sort of doppelganger out there.
Yeah, and it's not just a one-time occurrence.
Yeah, we now have a pattern. We now have evidence for multiple cases. And even if you're not ready to believe this thing, you can't deny that they may have 4 different murder cases, or, well, 3 murders and 1 attempted murder of all these scenarios playing out with the person being in a different state.
Yeah.
So
I think this one, it's still in the same kind of town, city area that Terry was, right? It hasn't moved on.
no, it is. It's closer to where Claude and that is.
Oh, is it that far out? Okay.
Yeah, because
I didn't think it was quite that far out.
yeah, because they mention the carnival thing. It's got a name, but they mention it at one point that it's nearby. Because they say all the hotels are booked up because of it.
Oh, fair enough. I guess I didn't get the impression that it was quite that far out, but fair enough.
Yeah, because Jack drives, because Jack gets really upset because he's got a police radio and he's listening, and they're looking for him. Like, they're looking for his car. They're considering him armed and dangerous, like, to get back
Good
up.
reason.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm not criticizing that classification of Jack's person at this juncture. Yeah, it's just that it was a frustrating watch because there's scenes that I like, and there's character beats that I like, and there's story beats that I like, but there's a lot of fluffs around them, and I feel like, yeah, you probably could have, at the very least at this point, this and next episode could probably be put. I mean, hell, maybe next week's will be different. Maybe next week's episode will be like packed from start to finish with necessary things that I won't feel this way about. But I feel like, yeah, the next episode probably could have just been put in this one.
Yeah, I just feel like at the end of this, when the whole show's done, you could just take a machete to it and chop out huge chunks and get this down to a really tight 5 to 6 hours, and it would be great.
Yeah, I think you probably could. I mean, sure, it would be better to do it in the writing so that you could actually still get some of the beats that you want from the others more naturally into the other stuff. But you probably could look at this 10-episode season and just do like a home edit and try and get it down to about maybe half the length and see how much more it improves everything, because it genuinely might.
Yeah, there'd still be some creative choices that we just don't really agree with or like as much, but that's okay. That's creative choices that don't annoy me as much because there'll be someone out there who likes those.
I don't know, like, part of me thinks there's a bit of hubris with this, and like how much time they want to devote to all these things, but they aren't really nailing what they're going for. And I do wonder if it's not so much that someone forced them to 10 episodes, it's just that they thought that this is what it needed. The writing team thought this is what they wanted, and the fact that it's the same writers, the night of, which did have that problem too. I mean, obviously it had better direction than this did, especially the first episode. In fact, all the episodes were directed by the same dude, but even that did suffer from this. Maybe not to quite the same extent, but it did. So I'm wondering.
Yeah, it had some similar problems for sure.
Yeah, so I'm wondering if it's actually the writer's own problem here. Like, he just he paces things out far more than they should.
Could be. In which case, someone needs to step in and edit, right?
Yeah, someone should. Because Night Of was 8 episodes, and I think you could have happily gotten that down to about half that. And because I think the first episode was perfect, the last episode was almost perfect. It was like the next best one for sure. I think you could have taken all those middle episodes and put them into 1 or 2 episodes, and just.
I think that's a little extreme. I'd have probably got it down from 8 down to about 6, 5 at a push.
I don't know. I think
going like 3 or 4.
Yeah, I think you could streamline it way more than that. And again, here I feel like you can cut it like 4 episodes probably, edit it down
quite easily.
but,
yeah.
Hey, so I know that's not as like necessarily as in depth like for each plot point as we usually go, but at this point we're nearing the end game now. Unfortunately, what's sticking out to me now isn't the excitement of the plot wrapping up. It's just like it's all the ways that it's not quite clicking together now that's just sticking out to me when we're watching it.
Honestly, I feel like this had very little progression in terms of plot lines. Like even in the last few where we've said, "Oh, we'd cut this, cut that," there's pacing problems. I still feel like there was, even though it didn't all happen naturally, there was like significant advancements in the plot. It would like happen like they'd introduce at the start, and then it would sag for a while, and then it would jump forward near the end of that plot. Whereas this one, I feel, didn't go as far as some of those previous ones did. So there's just naturally a bit less to talk about.
Yeah, That said, though, I mean, I could almost see the potential here for a full episode, still here for what's in this, but not with the Claude stuff, just focused on Jack and the doppelganger looking for a victim. I can almost see like a really cool, like, focused episode on the hunt for the next victim and how they get to the next victim. Like, and as much as we're saying, oh, it needs to cut stuff, it's not so much that it needs to cut stuff because there's no way to make this story fill 10 episodes. It's that the creativity to actually make use of all 10 of those episodes in interesting ways isn't there. And I think you can take that core idea and you could, because like that was by far the most atmospheric and interesting stuff in this episode was the hunt for the new victim. And I feel like you could do almost a whole episode out of that.
You probably could, and it's kind of funny how, you know, we've spoken in the past on this show that, you know, they've kind of just thrown away the mystery of El Cuco as they keep, you know, that's just what they're calling it constantly now.
Yeah.
And you know, we talk how that kind of stole a lot of the fun and that mystique of it, and it feels weird that they just kind of threw that out there, and then this episode they try so hard to really keep that going when they're with him, like. You don't see it, you know, like when they're in the car and you just see the hand come forward. They're really going for that mystique, and you know, and they're trying, and it just feels at odds with what they did with it earlier in the season.
Yeah, I still like those choices in this episode particularly.
No, I like them here. This is better. I'm saying they should have kept this consistent.
Yeah.
It should have felt more like this throughout.
But hey, that is episode 8 of Outsider. We'll be back with episode 9 next week. Let us know what you thought of this one in the comments below. Are you kind of as lukewarm on it as we are now? Or are you still liking it, or liking it even less than we are? Feel free to chime in. But that is episode 8. So thank you once again for watching or listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV. I'm skipping to the end for my outro for some reason. You can, of course, get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. You can like, subscribe, and all that jazz on YouTube. Ding the bell for notifications. You can, of course, support us on patreon.com/mailfuzztv. If you like all the reviews and like all the content we make, you can keep it all coming for as little as $1 per month over there. But that is us. So thank you once again. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?